Customer brought me a 97 Honda Accord, said the speedometer is not working on it. Said he put a vehicle speed sensor in it and it's still not working. So he brought it to me to look at. I tried to tell him, I said, if you just pace everybody else, you'll be fine. He said, that's not gonna work. I said, okay. I said, we'll take a look at it and see what we got. All right, let me start it up and let's look at all the gauges. The RPMs work, the fuel gauge works. That's what he said, and we don't know about the temperature light yet. So let me take this thing for a little ride and let's see what we got. Check engine light is on. The brake light's on. We have RPM, but we do not have any speed. So what I think I'm gonna do first is go ahead and put the scanner on it. Let's see what that code is. Then I'm gonna see, can I tap into the speed sensor and drive it and see if I can get a reading off that. I'm not sure if this year has that ability to look at the speed sensor. I can't remember. But 97, that's way before my time anyway, so. All right, let me get my scanner hooked up and let's check it out. All right, on the 97 Accord, for those of you who don't know, the data link connector is located behind the ashtray. Just pull it out and plug in right there. And I'm pretty sure, right back at you, big guy. 97 is not gonna have an automatic ID. So we're gonna go, well, we'll try and see. It says it may be possible, huh? Vehicle does not support automatic ID. I got it. The 97. It's an Accord. It's a 4-door. It is, what is the 8th character of the VIN? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a 3. The glare is bad. Sorry about that. Can't help it though. And it's a cloudy day. Let's do the engine. Automatic with AC. Let's look at codes only. Well, while we're waiting for it to go through its thing, this is the sensor that he put in. 78410 SV03. He bought it straight from Honda. And he said he already put it in, it didn't work. It don't look like he's even opened the package to me. I have to verify that. VSS is out of range. And what he did was, there is no repairs. It's just saying it's out of range, so what we'll do is, which is probably gonna have an open wire somewhere, a broken wire, blown fuse, or something like that. Let me pull a wiring diagram up on it and let's start with that. All right, first things first, let's find out where the speed sensor is located at. Accord LX, Ado. It is the CD5 engine. LX, automatic, and it's the AOVA. Use it, ba-boom. So we're going to do speed sensor. Speed sensor, automatic training. Let's do component location. On right rear of engine compartment on transmission. We want the main shaft speed sensor. So let's look at this one here. The main speed sensor, located right there. So if you're looking at the transmission, this is the front of it. It's located, there's your headlight just right beside behind the passenger side of headlight, down low a little bit. Let's go see, can I see it without having to pick the car up. Make sure when you take it out, you definitely look at the filter and make sure it looks clean. There's a ton of water sitting on top of this breather. Wonder why. Nasty. And it is brand new. So he probably put that in after he took that box out. Hello. All right, so on my shop key program here, I went ahead and pulled out just a quick basic thing of how to check it. And the first thing it does, it says go to the #1 fuse. That should be a 10 amps under the dash. It's in the fuse relay box. make sure it's not blown. It could be just as simple as a blown fuse. And if that fuse checks out okay, we're going to disconnect a 3-pin connector at the sensor, turn the ignition in the on position, take a meter. We're going to check the voltage between a yellow and a black wire. And it should be battery voltage, 12 volts. So let's go ahead and let's get this far first and we'll check it out. All right, so looking at the fuse box, number 1 is right here. And if we look up here, turn the key in the on position. And it should be this one right here. We're good on one side and we're good on the other side. Next step. All right, so next we're going to take it and disconnect the sensor and probe between the yellow and the black wire, and we should have battery voltage. All right, so looking at the sensor, it's not burnt, so it looks good. The yellow wire is in the middle and the black wire is on the outer left side. So we're going to front probe it. So I'm going to use connectors like this. That way you don't spread over the terminals when you go to do it. Okay, black is the outer wire here. And we said the middle wire is here. Should be 12 volts. 12.043. All right, we are good on that. Next step. All right, it's saying if there's battery voltage, go to step 3. Step 3 is going to be check the voltage on the orange wire, or check the voltage on the orange and black terminals. If the reading should be 5 volts. And if, depending on what that is, we'll decide what we do next. So the orange wire is going to be the outside wire. Uh-oh, we have 5 volts, 4.8. This thing might have a bad speedo cluster. All right, so it's saying go to the next step. And basically it wants me to put a jumper harness between the VSS unit and the harness. And it wants me to spin the wheel and it wants me to see if I get a signal. And basically if you don't get a signal, you're going to replace the VSS unit. That is brand new from Honda. So I'm kind of going to skip that step because I'm sure that that brand new sensor from Honda is not messed up. I mean, although it could be, but we're going to say at this point it's not because it is brand new. It's a factory sensor. So now it wants me to go inside the car, disconnect the speedo connector, block one wheel and slowly rotate the wheel using the meter and check between the speedo connector, orange wire, and ground. If voltage pulse, replace the speedometer. So basically we're going to do the same test, but I'm going to the speedo housing. We're going to pull out that speedo housing now. So before I pull that instrument cluster, let me show you what I'm talking about on this wiring. Let's go down to the wiring diagram, and what I'm going to do is we're going to make it big. Let's go to the next page. That's your sensor right here. And we check the ground. We know the ground's okay. We check 12 volts with yellow wire going into the sensor, and we check 5 volts at the sensor. We know that's good. What it does is it goes into a junction box right here. This one goes to the cruise control. This one goes to the engine counter. This one goes to the transmission. So that one orange wire is a 5 volt reference to all those things. This wire here is the one that goes right into the instrument cluster. Right here, C12. So whenever you look at these diagrams, even though you see like a C12 down here, it's usually not in line with everything else. They just put them in numerical order for you. But C12 is right up here, and that is your speedometer. So we're going to check it right here at the connector C12 behind the instrument cluster. And if we don't have anything there, then I'll go back and we'll check it over here at the junction. There's a junction box just behind the left side of the dash. It's got just those wires in it. We'll check it right there. But I got a funny suspicion that we're going to find 5 volts at that speedo, at the instrument cluster, and then when I spin it, you're going to see it's going to fluctuate. So in order to get that cluster out, we need to take this plastic bezel out around it. There's 2 Phillips head screws that go up through the top here. Tell you what, it's a short weekend, I guess I should say. My wife decided she's going to remodel the bathroom, and we had to go out and buy tile and all kinds of crap. She bought an antique vanity or something that she's going to restore and use as a vanity, or a dresser and make it into a vanity, should I say. Yay, sounds like fun. One thing about messing with these older cars like this, you just really got to be careful because they're old. The clips are going to break, things are going to snap. All right, now we're going to pop up around it. Just get your plastic little tool here and pray you don't break nothing. So after looking at some service data, you have a Phillips head behind this. There's a little, this was your cruise control button. There's a Phillips head back here. We've got one by your defrost button. You're gonna pop it out. Knife, screwdriver, however you wanna do it. And it just pops right out. Everything is so brittle in this car. Let me show you what I've had to do so far. It was just too hard to get the camera in here earlier. But the center console's right here. You raise up the armrest. There's 2 screws back here. There's 1 screw right here. You lift up, pull it back. There's a screw here and a screw here. And the 1 screw, which is right above the OBD2. Once you get that out of the way, then this will pry up and you pull it and take it out of the way. My big old hands can't fit inside these little holes. Most Chinamen, Asian people should I say, they got little itty bitty fingers and hands. They can reach in there and do this crap. They got old wonkers for fingers. This should come out pretty easy now. I said it should. No guarantees, is it? Looks like there's a button here, I guess, that gives you your dimness for your dash lights. What we'll do is we'll just unplug that and I'll rotate this out of the way this way. This gives us access to the instrument cluster. I believe there's just 2 Phillips head screws holding it in. No, 2 at the bottom, is 4 total. Well, let's turn it like this. I am looking for a solid orange wire. Got orange and white, orange and yellow. Alright, so let's find this orange wire. Looks like it's this one right here. Alright, let me find out which connector it is, but I believe it's going to be this wire right here. Alright, let me get back to the computer and let me look to see which connector it is. So looking at it, it's the 16-pin connector, and C1 is going to have a yellow and blue in it. If you look at the other ones, it's black and white and burgundy. So the connector, the orange one, is going to be right beside a light green and white and a blue and black. And it's a 16-pin connector. Well, that's a bite in the booty. Can't find my magnifying glass, which means I got to use the one on my phone. I think it's going to be this connector right here, y'all. And there is 12 right there. So that is my wire. It's beside a green one. What did I say? Light green and white is 11. C1 was, what was C1? So C1 is that yellow one I was talking about. Flipping it this way, C12 was that orange one right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the key in the on position and we're going to hook my voltmeter to it and see what we got. All right, so here's what we got going on. The orange wire, I definitely confirmed I'm on the correct wire, and it's got 12 volts. That wire should only have 5 volts going on it. So I went back and double checked to make sure I had the correct one. That orange wire, like I said, should only have 5 volts on it. I got it thinking, he said he bought a genuine Honda part, but now I'm questioning it, you know, where he exactly bought this part at. Watch what happens when I unplug this sensor. That'll drop to 5 volts. All right, I just unplugged that sensor, and we are just at 5 volts, right where we should be. So I'm gonna call this guy up and find out exactly where he bought that sensor at. It's possible we went through all this and all he did was buy an aftermarket sensor that said Honda on it. So he may have bought just a guaranteed piece of crap. But like I said, on the sensor, there's 3 wires like we looked earlier. You have a ground, a 12 volt, and a 5 volt. And when I'm plugging it in, we're getting 12 volts on the orange wire and it should only be 5. So my next step is let me call this guy and see where he got this sensor at. So here's what's going on. After talking to the guy, I went rummaging through this car and I found the original sensor that came out of his car originally. This one he said he bought off a site and they told him it was originally a Honda part. So if you remember earlier when I was taking a reading off the orange wire, this is the orange wire that's off the back of the sensor, and the yellow wire. The yellow wire is supposed to have 12 volts, the orange wire has a 5 volt reference. Well, off the back of the sensor, I went ahead and took a reading. With the other sensor hooked up, it wasn't reading anything hardly. So if you remember also, inside the car, we took the cluster out and I tapped into the orange wire that went to the back of the cluster, and we were reading 12 volts. Now look what we got, 4.7. The battery is just a tad low. I need to go ahead and put the battery saver on it. But I am 100% sure we have fixed this man's problem. So let me tell you one thing I did learn. Earlier in the video I said we're not going to take the reading at the sensor because it was probably correct, because it was a new sensor from Honda. Well, that came back and bit me in the butt, because it was not from Honda. It was from a website that said it was from Honda. This one here I think was a import direct one I just got from the auto parts store, and it's reading correctly, as you can see. So let me get this thing back together. You don't need to see me put it back together. Let's go for our test drive and let's see if the speedometer is working, which I got a hunch it's going to be working. All right, we're on our test drive. Everything's looking good. Speedometer's working just fine. Also, when I plugged that sensor up and took off, that check engine light went out on its own. It was probably on because that 5-volt reference light had too many volts going to it. But we're looking good. So one thing you can learn from this, when you're shopping online for parts, you just got to make sure you get what you pay for. This guy here thought he was getting a genuine Honda part, and he just got a genuine piece of shit is all he got. He could have saved himself, like I say, a lot of money if he'd have went to a local auto parts store, paid a little bit more, and got something like an import direct part. I've had good luck with that brand. All right, that's it for this video. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Catch you later.